We've been talking about weather and weather patterns. We have that weather video. Should write that on the board. But we do have that weather video that is going to be due next Friday. And then we also have a weather assignment that is in Google Classroom as well, also due next Friday. The only thing really due today is the cloud argument. But two things which I need to remember to write on the board are both due next week. So we're making good progress with all of our weather stuff. We still have some things we're going to do before we get to the end of the semester and have time to work on your final project. Now, we're going to talk about thunderstorms. This is something that obviously really applies to us because we get a lot of storms in this area. So today's material especially will be really applicable to our lives on a daily basis because we just get the weirdest weather here. Most often, thunderstorms are going to occur in summertime when the air is warm and moist. And that makes sense because a lot of these storms take place when there is changes in air pressure and changes in warm and cold fronts. And so if there is a warm weather coming through, then it's going to be displaced by the cold front, and that's where we're going to see thunderstorms most of the time. So advancing cold fronts may push the warm air upwards, causing the formation of giant cumulus clouds and heavy precipitation. Thank you.
Probably quiz with the teachers.
No, not my rule, but a rule. Well, it's one of those I don't understand, but I have to follow it.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, I don't understand what the big deal is about hats.
Because they hide your identity.
No, they don't.
I don't understand.
You mean when they're backwards?
I heard one of the kids arguing with the principal. She said because they could hide your identity.
Is that what she said?
Yeah.
Well, I just.
I was like, but they let us wear masks.
That'll cover your whole face.
Yeah.
You see his hair?
Not my rule,
That's Ethan.
but I follow it.
Like him with that that's Ethan. I noticed that hair. That weird looking part haircut.
Thanks for taking it off, though, even.
He was smacked up.
Well, you're leaving it off.
It's on my hair.
Dude, okay, you know what I went for
Yeah,
Halloween
yeah.
as? I went as Dwight Schrute.
I love Dwight. I'm actually rewatching the Office seasons. It's like something I can play in the background while I'm making dinner and stuff.
Someone like didn't understand me because I walked up to the guy with beats. Yeah, candy. I was like, I'm not here for the candy. I was like, I'm here for the beats.
Alright, anyway, thunderstorms. In severe cases, lightning, damaging hail, and tornadoes are also possible. And again, it's because of that displacement of air that's taking place very quickly. Lightning strikes, flash floods, tornadoes are all spawned by thunderstorms, and they cause about 100 fatalities per year in the U.S., which really isn't much. I mean, 100 deaths per year because of thunderstorms or lightning strikes, that's really not that bad in the grand scheme of things.
Yeah, when we have like 2 people die, you need something.
Lightning and thunder happen at the same time, but light travels faster than sound. So if you've ever done that thing when you were a little kid and you see the lightning and then you go 1, 1,000, 2, 1,000, well, it's kind of accurate because the lightning and thunder are both taking place at the same time, but the light travels faster, so you see it first, and then the thunder comes later. That's also why if there's a very bright flash of lightning and the thunder comes really quickly after, that means the lightning struck pretty close.
Is that a face beat?
I need to believe that.
Have you guys flown on a plane
You have
before?
a foot
No.
patch.
No? I didn't fly till I was in college. But one
You know
time
who
I
else
was
didn't fly a plane?
I do not.
Ellen.
Helen Keller.
She could not.
My
You
point
have this,
is, though, that one time I was on a plane and it was storming out the window. It was so cool to see the lightning like next to us.
What's the big tall girl's teacher? She's not lying. She's an ELA teacher.
I'm new. You're asking the wrong person. I still don't even know like.
Yeah. Her real name's Jennifer Davis. Yeah. We watched Helen Keller in it.
I've heard a
She's
lot
not
about
that
the
tall.
cell
What do you mean?
You just said she's tall.
She
To him.
is. She
Continue.
towers over all of us.
Taller towers.
For some reason, I thought you were talking about 12.
She should tower over him too.
Yeah, if you're asking who the teachers are, you're asking the wrong one because I only know like 5 teachers. Alright, so this is in Google Classroom. I wanted to explain the process of lightning because it's very interesting, but it was too much to have you actually write down, so I just gave the information to you, so you don't have to write it all down. But lightning is an electrical discharge caused by imbalance between storm clouds and the ground. So the storm clouds in the sky and the ground itself are creating an imbalance. In nature, things don't like to be unbalanced. So most lightning occurs within the cloud itself. And it does go from up high, usually to something pointy, like a metal object, like a tower or an antenna or something like that. So the basic principle behind it is during a storm, colliding particles of rain, ice, or snow inside the cloud increase that imbalance. So they're colliding together and they're building up all this extra energy that has no place to go. So it often negatively charges the lower reaches of the storm clouds, and objects on the ground become positively charged. And when that negative and that positive interact, it causes the lightning to
Are
change.
you gonna take your zoology class to SeaWorld?
SeaWorld? No, but I
Where'd
considered
you get chocolate
taking them.
milk?
CMU is having a marine biology day.
They didn't have
And I
white
thought
milk,
of
they had
taking them
white
up to the marine
No,
biology
where'd
day.
you get? The snack shack and refill their stuff?
After we finish up.
Chocolate milk thing goes. Look, I have 3 bottles.
Alright, so this video is going to show us how lightning occurs and kind of explain the process a little bit. Let me make sure my sound is on.
The image is unmistakable. Lightning is one of the most incredible natural phenomenons, and one that scientists are still learning about. It's a common occurrence during summer when the heat of the day is broken by strokes of lightning. Worldwide, it's estimated lightning occurs 50 to 100 times a second.
Wow.
The greatest concentrations of lightning strikes are in Central Africa, the Himalayas, and South America. Lightning is often seen flashing between storm clouds and the earth. The bursts of light are pure electricity. Scientists don't fully agree on what actually causes the electrical charge to be dispersed, but it is generally thought that lightning often occurs within the downdrafts and updrafts of thunderstorms. Lighter particles moving toward the top of clouds become positively charged, while heavier particles heading toward the bottom become negatively charged. When the positive and negative charges grow large enough, lightning is released between these regions. Most of the lightning takes place within the cloud, but some strikes the earth in bold flashes. In these cases, the charge escapes the cloud, making a branching path that reaches for the ground. The energy of the lightning strike contains hundreds of millions of volts and lasts only a fraction of a second. What seems to be a single flash is actually a series of return strokes of electrical energy reaching back up into the clouds. The path reaches temperatures of around 50,000 degrees Fahrenheit. This extreme heat creates the booming thunderclap as excessive pressure within the lightning path expands at supersonic rates on return strokes. In the U.S., lightning occurs most often in Florida. Its hot, moist climate is perfect for creating thunderclouds, which produce lightning. But lightning is a deadly natural phenomenon, taking nearly 100 lives a year on average in the U.S., more than hurricanes or tornadoes. During electrical storms, experts warn that people should seek shelter inside a building or hard-topped automobiles, and if caught in the open, avoid high ground and isolated trees. Lightning is a powerful force of nature, and
How's
warn to
that
be
Wilson?
cautious.
Girls are normally weaker.
Don't say anything. Don't say anything. If we say one thing.
You want to get equality?
You want equality, but you guys can't do
Yeah.
what we do.
What?
I am not
No, she
sure.
didn't.
Anytime
Yes,
there
she
is
did. I
something
watched her.
like,
No, she did not. She did eight.
like,
No,
no,
I
did not.
She did eight the right way,
Broke
and
down
then
the
she
carpet
did
and touched
wrong
it.
way.
I think it's
Told you.
similar to that. There's no water involved with that.
I'm gonna
It's
be
more
over.
about the
Yeah,
road.
that girl's not messing with Scout.
Oh, yeah.
I think that
But
would be why. It
But
doesn't
also like,
necessarily have to have moisture. It's the
I weigh 250 and I can do 2.
friction that creates the energy.
I like 200, I can't.
All right,
I do
tornadoes.
like
Do
two.
we ever get tornadoes here?
Maybe two.
We
I mean,
had
it's
one really bad one whenever we were in Hannibal,
Really?
Yeah, we were like
You
5.
can't do two.
Huh.
but there hasn't been like a bad one since then. There are like small ones that usually
It's
happen
gonna
over
wait
the river.
right now.
Okay.
It's
More
only us, you
around
can't do one.
Franklin than it is.
Oh, okay.
Without kicking off the wall, like.
Yeah.
I could probably do one pull up. I've never done pull up
Nice.
before.
Tornadoes, not pull-ups.
I wonder if it's
So tornadoes are most common in spring and early summer. And where I lived in Kansas, they were super common because we were kind of in tornado alley over there. They're usually less than 0.3 miles across and usually last for 10 minutes or less. Winds have been measured by radar in excess to 300 miles per hour. So the winds can get quite dramatic. The highest wind I've ever experienced was probably 70 miles per hour when I lived in Kansas. We got some very strong winds. So I can't even imagine what it would be like. Yeah, they're still on the side that's
Yeah. Why,
No, we're not fighting.
It is.
why is it not woman hat?
Long drive just when I
No, I went to
that
the
makes more sense.
my stepdad's sister.
Okay, you can't say I'm sick because I call my truck
Yee?
She.
That's,
Yee is French for guy.
I really think a water gun would be helpful. Something where I could just like squirt it.
I feel like we'd be drenched by the end of class. Just the three of
If I had a
Shoot.
squirt gun to squirt you, then we should be paying attention.
I'm not a cat.
What? A hose?
I felt him spraying with a hose last night.
She's not scared of me, but she wouldn't talk to me when I gave her word. She knows I'm gonna know.
No, I just didn't put me on the receiving end of the problem.
I wouldn't yell at you.
All right, this video is going to talk a little bit about tornadoes. Tornadoes really are fascinating in the way that they can be built and then the destruction that they can leave in their path.
They begin life as ghosts, gently coursing through a solitary existence. But slowly, their gentility turns to rage. They grow larger and larger, curling and twisting and desperately reaching down from the sky. And what began as an invisible shade is turned into a monster. Tornadoes are powerful, spinning columns of air that stretch from the ground to the clouds. Most are relatively weak, but the few that grow into large events are extremely violent and cause immense destruction. Tornadoes occur on 6 of the 7 continents. The country with the most tornadoes based on land size is the United Kingdom, with an average of about 33 tornadoes reported each year. But the country with the greatest overall number of tornadoes and the most intense is the United States, with over 1,000 reported annually. Tornadoes, no matter where they occur, are classified as either supercell tornadoes, which form within supercells, the most powerful class of thunderstorms, or non-supercell tornadoes, which are smaller and weaker and form within non-supercell storms. There are many theories surrounding the formation of tornadoes. One key component they share is the presence of both high and low pressure air in a given space. Air particles from the area of high pressure move toward an area of low pressure, a movement that creates wind. Non-supercell tornadoes, such as waterspouts and landspouts, begin when cool, high-pressure air and warm, low-pressure air are present, particularly near ground level. As air particles move horizontally from the high-pressure area to the low-pressure area, wind begins to pick up. Winds blowing at different speeds and in different directions and altitudes begin to blow cyclically. In the case of non-supercell tornadoes, they turn into an upright spinning vortex. But to create supercell tornadoes, the circumstances are slightly different. Violent supercell storms draw warm, low-pressure air up to a higher altitude, leaving behind cool, high-pressure air near the ground. Air particles attempting to bring the two levels of air pressure into balance creates wind that blows vertically. The wind increases and starts to blow in a cyclical fashion, creating a pipe of wind that rolls along the ground. In both cases, an upward current of wind called an updraft provides the final ingredient for creating a tornado. In a budding non-supercell tornado, an updraft stretches its vertical vortex until it reaches the clouds. To create a supercell tornado, an updraft lifts the rolling pipe of wind upward until it stands upright. Then it pulls condensation from the skies and into the spinning vortex. As soon as the vortices, supercell or non-supercell, connect the ground to the clouds, they are officially classified as tornadoes.
How did the ground make it sound?
All tornadoes are rated based on a system called the Enhanced Fujita Scale. The Enhanced Fujita, or EF scale, classifies tornadoes from a rating of EF0 to EF5. The rating is based on a number of factors, such as the damage a tornado causes and the Doppler radar estimates of its wind speeds. EF0 tornadoes are the weakest, with wind speeds between 65 to 85 miles per hour. EF5 tornadoes are the strongest, with wind speeds exceeding 200 miles per hour. One of the strongest tornadoes recorded occurred in Oklahoma City, Oklahoma in 1999. Born from a supercell thunderstorm, the EF5 tornado had wind speeds of over 300 miles per hour. It resulted in 36 fatalities, injured nearly 600, and caused about $1 billion in damages. While tornadoes cannot be prevented, measures are being taken to protect communities. Meteorologists closely monitor storm fronts in high-risk areas and try to forecast possible tornadic events. In doing so, they help mitigate damages to neighborhoods and save countless lives, even in the face of one of nature's most formidable.
Tornadoes are one of those things, it's like it's fascinating. You can't like look
You
away
wanna
from
swim
it
them?
almost.
Yeah.
Anyway, hurricanes are kind of like tornadoes that happen over water. We already mentioned like hurricanes, cyclones, typhoons. That's clean product. You hurt
Maybe it wasn't good to
yourself,
eat
get
that.
that in your eyes.
Feels 99.
But it tasted like lemon.
Anyways, tropical depressions, area of low pressure that usually develop in the late summer and early autumn in the Atlantic Ocean. When winds exceed 74 miles per hour, the designation is changed from tropical storm to a hurricane. So there are more tropical storms than hurricanes. It's when the wind speed gets too great that they change it into a hurricane.
Aren't hurricanes like come from the ocean though, usually?
Typically form over the ocean, that's why most of these coastal cities are impacted by them. We can, like up here in Missouri, because the Gulf Coast is underneath us, we can get like storms that get pushed up from a hurricane. So we can get rain and storms from a hurricane. Once it reaches land, the friction of the land really causes it to peter out, and most of it is going to turn this way. So I doubt it would get up here, it would be more like turning to the side. Yeah. I don't think there's much history of them going super far inland.
hurricane?
Yeah.
I mean, they swamped Woody.
Yeah, well, the coast. We're talking like could a hurricane get to Missouri?
Oh, no.
You know that, nasty, they kill all the people in the
A
process.
hurricane in Missouri.
No,
It
it would be the
tapers off a
scariest,
lot
you
by
know what,
the
you know what I think would be the scariest is a tsunami. So like, it's not like a huge, like from an earthquake where the,
Wait.
where it, like, yeah, makes the wave, like that'd be
My brother
freaky.
was stationed in Okinawa, Japan, when that massive earthquake hit. When was it? Like 10, 15 years ago?
Yeah.
And it caused that tsunami. So he
Yeah,
was over
he was-
there in the Air Force station over there when it happened.
So he didn't get like anything happen to him?
Thank goodness, no, he didn't get hurt. Like,
Did he see anything crazy?
Watch all
he
the-
had to help with a lot of the cleanup, and a lot of like the fallout from it. He helped with that, but thankfully he was okay.
I just think that'd be like from a distance, that'd be
Get
crazy
it knocked
to
out
watch,
like
like this
that.
humongous wave
Well-
form up and just plaster over a
The
freaking.
earthquake itself was
Country.
bad, and one of the things that the earthquake caused was power plants to malfunction, and so then they are seeing like at risk for like radiation contamination. So that it was 2012 when it happened.
Yeah, 2012 the movie. It's basically the world being stopped. It's a massive earthquake just where half the world died. The tsunami that was bigger. It was more than It was a good movie.
But yeah, my brother, being the bachelor that he was, his main priority, he told me at the time, was to try and save his TV.
Yeah, yeah, you
His TV. He had a big fancy TV that he bought. Because in the military, you get money, but they pay for all your food and room and stuff, so you just buy whatever you want. And so he was trying to save his TV during the earthquake.
Was it worth saving the TV?
Yes.
My brother is a goof. He's the same one who tattooed himself. Bought a tattoo gun
I
and
about
tattooed
did that
his
yesterday.
thigh. And it looks like an angry pumpkin. I don't know what he was aiming for. I mean, he's a talented artist, but I guess like he was just experimenting at first and experimenting.
You know
on
what my
his
biggest
own.
fear is?
Kid from Blackheart, they branded his leg.
Brandon.
Branded.
That's scary stuff.
Yeah, he said that next morning he woke up and he was stuck to his sheet and it was like,
Why?
he had
Did
to rip
they
it off.
do it to be mean, or did he do it just because he
Was he
wanted?
high? He said,
Well,
he bought a $50 car and ran it into a pond and then pulled it out and sold it.
that kind of sounds fun. I mean, if you only spent $50 on it.
Yeah.
My biggest fear is the kangaroo.
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 Kangaroo song.
You know what the kangaroo is?
Kangaroo song.
It's a small fish that is in the African rivers. And what they
Oh, is
do-
that the one that when you urinate?
Yeah, it
Yeah.
goes aside.
Yeah. There's a fish that when you urinate, it follows the pattern of the urine. And it's for real. And it will follow it detects the urine in the water and it will follow the trail up and it will basically get wedged in the genitalia region.
Yeah, it'll
And
go
it's
inside
not
the
where
tips
you
of,
can't
it
pull
goes
it out.
inside the tip of a man's penis and it barbs out.
Mhm.
And the only way to get
What
rid
about
of
a
it,
female?
It'll go inside people too, but it's more likely in males because it's
because men pee in water more.
When you pee in
I
it.
think
Oh
it
my
goes in
gosh,
water.
that's
Well-
freaky. Where's that at?
Africa,
Africa.
along with lots of other
And
regions.
And
the
it,
only-
and it like spirals in there?
Yeah, like
It has
fins out.
barbs that come out. So you
After it
can't-
goes inside.
And the reason it does that is because it likes the salt in urine.
Yeah, if you don't urinate in the water,
That
then
would
it
suck.
won't happen because it follows the stream of urine. That's how it figures out where it goes.
And the only way to get rid of it is to get surgery or
Yeah.
hope it dies. What? And then if it dies, you have to wait for it.
Shoot, I'm holding
You
my
can't
pee.
pee it out?
No, dude.
All right. Anyways,
Pee, period.
true
It's like-
story.
Yeah.
Tropical storm formation. So you can kind of see how the weather patterns happen here and why most of the hurricanes are going to hit this eastern coast. And we really don't get very many hurricanes. You don't hear about hurricanes striking California. That's because they're kind of blowing the other way, the other direction. So most of them are going to hit Central America, the Gulf Coast, and up to the East Coast. You can see that they are going to cyclones. Remember we talked about differences between cyclones and typhoons. They're all the same thing, just location. So cyclones will hit the coast coast of Africa, and then we've got the typhoons that are coming up here into Asia. This is the tropical storm classification, so they have categories as well. So category 1 is pretty minimal, and category 5 is the more catastrophic one. Alright, so this video is going to talk a little bit about hurricanes.
Cyclone, typhoon, hurricane. All of these names are used around the world to describe the most powerful storm known to man. Hurricanes are unpredictable, but scientists have a thorough understanding of how hurricanes form and sustain their power. In the Atlantic Ocean, hurricane season peaks during the late summer months when tropical waters are the warmest. Hurricanes form from a cluster of thunderstorms that suck up the warm, moist air and move it high into Earth's atmosphere. The warm air is then converted into energy that powers the hurricane's circular winds. These winds spin around a low-pressure center called the eye, which can provide a 20 to 30-mile radius of eerie calm. Encircling it is the eye wall, a towering ring of clouds with some of the fastest wind speeds of the hurricane. Surrounding the eye wall are curved bands of clouds, the rain bands, often tens of miles wide, releasing sheets of rain and sometimes tornadoes. When a tropical storm's winds reach at least 74 miles per hour, it becomes a hurricane. The hurricane then receives a category ranking of 1 to 5 on the Saffir-Simpson scale, based on its wind speed and potential damage. But wind speed isn't always the most dangerous component when hurricanes come near land. It's storm surge. Storm surge is caused when winds from an approaching hurricane push water towards the shoreline up to 20 feet above sea level and can extend 100 miles. 90% of all hurricane deaths are the result of storm surge. While hurricanes can cause mass devastation, just like other natural disasters, they serve a higher purpose within the global ecosystem. Hurricanes help regulate our climate by moving heat energy from the equator to the poles, keeping the Earth's temperature stable. Over time, science has helped us to better understand hurricanes and predict their paths, saving lives through early warning systems and helping us build better infrastructure to protect our cities. The more we study these complex storms, the better we can prepare for them and minimize their impact on human lives.
Alright, so jet streams. These were discovered fairly recently. I mean, 1940s isn't terribly long ago. And it can be found in the upper troposphere. So now we're talking like higher up in the sky is where these are located. Strong high speeds and high pressure, and they move west to east across the U.S. moving storms. So this is one of the reasons why we get the storms moving in the direction that they do. These jet streams are just really fast, really strong, really high pressure, and this is what generally is going to push those storms across the United States. Alright, so here's some examples where jet streams are found. You can see the one taking place across North America there. And then there's some other jet streams in the lower hemisphere that are also moving those high winds.
Can you go back for this 1 second?
Yeah, forcing those wind movements.
It hurt.
Or just like change that above the clouds, like really high in the sky.
Dude, why is that funny?
What?
It's like we have pressure winds. but
I
it's
came
not-
over to try and hold back one.
Rain winds?
Some girl.
I don't know, I've heard that it's like, we have higher winds above the clouds.
Well, it might be the jet stream, because the jet stream is higher than the trade.
sent another
Greenland's
picture of me, like,
more
different
like
pose, and she's like, oh, I'm
rotational
sorry.
patterns. And this is, so it's probably jet stream. Alright, so we kind of can connect this to social studies is global winds impact trade and exploration historically. So if you think about the way that winds blow and the way that currents blow, places are more likely to be discovered in places that are more easy to access. That's why there are so many creatures that are still being discovered in the rainforest and hard to reach places and in caves and things like that. Listen. Because places that are hard to access tend to hide those more rare species. And so the way that winds blow help to dictate the way that ships would travel before they actually had motors, when they actually had sails and things to worry about. Alright, so that's all the information we're covering for today. The only thing due today is the cloud argument assignment. The other two assignments, the video assignment and the weather worksheet, both of those are going to be due next Friday. But you should definitely make sure you are using your class time to get those done, even though we only have about 15 minutes or so left of class.
Yeah.
So, get to work on those assignments. Let me know if you guys have questions. Guys, put the cell phones away. We're not supposed to have cell phones. Again, not my rule, but still a rule.
Fuck you. Why would you do that?
Miss Ayers, can
Yes, that's fine. And what were you gonna ask, Chloe? Chloe?
hang on just a second.
Okay.
Tiny point foot hurt.
So, we're actually 5, 6.